are you from originally?
Kansas.
Kansas?
Yeah.
A lot of cornfields out there.
Oh, yeah. But there is a lot of city, too. Like, I lived in Missouri and Kansas because I got put in foster care at 12.
Okay.
So I, bounced back and forth,
Yeah.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah.
But it's all the same out there. Ever since Kansas City, they started doing good in sports.
Yeah.
Like, everything's blown up.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Equipping the Corps. Over the past several months, I've had the privilege to speak with leaders and experts across the Marine Corps acquisition community. I've had several conversations about systems, capabilities, and gear where we put into the hands of Marines. All of those capabilities are critical to ensuring our Marines have the advantage they need to compete and win on the future battlefield. But in order for technology to be effective, Marines need to learn how to properly use and employ those capabilities to make them successful. Today, I'm excited to talk to an individual dedicated to ensuring his fellow Marines are trained and educated on the capabilities of the Corps' newest amphibious combat vehicle. Sergeant Juwan White is a member of the ACV's new equipment training team at Camp Pendleton, California. The NET team is responsible for learning everything there is to know about the ACV. They then train the Marines who will eventually be operating those vehicles in the operational forces. So it's my pleasure to be here today with Sergeant White. Sergeant White, thanks for taking the time to join us. Well, first of all, it's great to be in Southern California, in sunny Southern California. So to our listeners out there, if you hear a lot of oorahs and things, it's because we're where the Marines are. Before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you joined the Marine Corps.
All right. Well, it started, born and raised Kansas. I joined and...
Well, we're not in Kansas anymore. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, I didn't bring Toto.
Nah.
So 2016, January, I joined. Before that, I was at University of Kansas where I met my wife. I spent about 2 years there, from 13 to 15, and then decided to join the Marine Corps. College didn't work out for me. Disciplinary issues.
That's all right. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I couldn't stay on track. So I joined the Marine Corps, and then I asked to be in the AAV community because that's what one of my best friends from high school did.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I want to do that. He left out the part where I spend all day on the ramp and work on vehicles, but it all worked out in the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Amtracker, tell us your MOS and tell me a little bit about what you did before you ended up here on the NET team.
All right. So, 1833, the vehicle, the AAV, all right, the Legacy, I love that vehicle. Been on it 3 years, from 16 to 19 from when I checked into the new equipment training team. I was not expecting what was going to happen when I got here. Just when I got here, they were like, here's the ACV, this is where you're going to be working on, and then in about 6 months you're going to be teaching it.
So you knew you were going from tracks to wheels, you just didn't know you were going to embrace it. And
I was still in my alphas when I first got on the vehicle, and it looked like a space shuttle at first thought. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so high tech.
Right.
But
so somebody who's used to the old system where,
oh yeah,
always room for one more and all of this, now you're looking at a space shuttle with individual seats and all the high tech that goes with it.
Yeah, stabilized platform, so many screens, so many buttons and switches and responsibilities for each commander.
So when you got here, they put you through some training. What was that all about? Tell us a little bit about the
When
training.
I checked in, I went to instructor development course. So
that's a Marine Corps course.
Just learning how to be an instructor in front of a group of Marines, or students, rather. So I did that, and then obviously our annual swim qual, water survival, stuff like that. Nothing else out of the ordinary. I went to a JBCB course, which is learning how to operate the Blue Force tracker. Right, just so I could teach Marines on that. Other than that, I didn't go to any more advanced schools. Well, I went to martial arts instructor course, just getting my
So the Marine Corps stuff, the important stuff. Got it.
Other than that, no other courses that was necessary for me to go to. I just had to learn my job and vehicle. That way I could properly teach.
So when you got on here, were you instructing a particular area of the vehicle, or are you going from soup to nuts? I got to be a driver, I got to be a communicator, I got to be tech. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so it was a whole package deal.
Okay.
So from top to bottom, front to rear, that was exactly what I'd learn and teach.
Okay.
Cool story. I checked in January. I got promoted to sergeant in July, and then July 7th, I went to Aberdeen, Maryland, to teach 30 civilians how to operate the ACV. So in that short amount of time, I learned the vehicle, the ins and outs, and I had to fly to Aberdeen, Maryland with two other peers of mine to teach the ACV to 30 civilians in Aberdeen, Maryland.
So congratulations to you, because obviously the leadership had faith enough in you that you've been here 6 months. He knows how to operate this beast. So
yeah, correct.
we're gonna set him loose on his own and go teach some of the technicians, perhaps some Army folks up there in Aberdeen,
correct,
who have a different mindset and a different set of, shall we say, the land is a little bit different from Camp Pendleton to Aberdeen.
Correct. It's very hot out there in July.
Welcome to the other coast.
Yeah, it was not fun for a while.
You didn't get that ocean breeze that keeps us cool out here.
I don't get any breeze.
Tell us a little bit about the training. What was the most challenging part of the new vehicle, of the ACV, for you?
For me, the most challenging part of the vehicle was trusting it, if I could be honest. It was new. You know, I spent so much time on.
Yeah, I mean, you were working with a 40-year-old platform that had all the bugs worked out. So now you're.
It was, at first glance, thought. It was how do I employ this? How do I trust it? I don't know anything about it. But after operating it, learning it, teaching it, you kind of fell in love very, very quickly. It was trusting it and learning and understanding it to a point where you could teach someone about it. Right. So it's very easy for an individual to teach something that they're very passionate about. Right. But the challenge for me was, how do I learn a vehicle so fast and get so passionate about it to where I could teach it and have other Marines or what have you listen to what I'm saying and pick up and understand that I'm not pretending, because I didn't want to pretend. Right. I wanted to really fall in love with the vehicle to where I could teach it.
So it's really, I mean, if you think about it in a layman's perspective, you're coming out of a system that's, over 40 years old in many cases. You're coming out of, and I guess an easy way to explain it is maybe you're coming out of an analog system, as you refer to radios and things, and all of a sudden you're in the digital world. So it's no longer the rotary phone. Now you're in the the flip phone, moving on to the iPhone or whichever phone you're working with. So how long did it take you to get comfortable with all that?
Respectively speaking, it took me about a year.
About a year.
To be completely honest. And I would say that's quick because I had great leaders. Right? When I got here to the new equipment training team, I was one of the youngest Marines, respectively speaking, here in rank. So I had great guys who were just ready and willing to just dump everything from their brain to mine. So everything that they knew, to just give it to me so I could carry on the tradition and teach it.
So let me back up a little bit and give people a better understanding of what is here at the Amphibious Vehicle Test Branch. So we refer to it as AVTB. I mean, is it being in the water? Is it running around the tracks? Tell us a little bit about the things that you do here with this vehicle and what makes this unique.
Well, we have done everything from a BDAR, Battle Damage Assessment Report, to a loading up on TTs, right, transport trucks, to rope testing, to CTO test, to a 12 nautical mile swim test, right? AVTB conducted that, and that team supported. To the first time the ACVs were splashed on ship from Marines, right? We did that first, and then we had to learn so we could teach it properly to Delta Company in 29 Palms a couple years ago.
So I have an advantage. I've spent a little bit of time out here. I've splashed out in the water. I've done some of that stuff. But for those that don't grasp, I mean, you literally get in your vehicle, you drive down the ramp, you're in the water,
Yes.
and you swim out of this secluded little area here of Oceanside, and you're out in the open Pacific.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is it's the most dangerous part of our job is,
Right.
transiting from land to the water.
Right.
Several times, you get out there and you get a little nervous. And if you're not nervous, you don't care.
Right. Right.
And, when you're out there, you got to be alert at all times.
Right.
And it just
But
splashing.
this is a great organization here because you got safety boats, you got all kinds of things that go out with you. So,
Yes.
so there's we should say a lifeline available pretty quickly, but it's still a very dangerous and complex environment to
Yes.
take this massive 70-ton vehicle and splash it out in the water.
Yes, because we're always carrying souls aboard,
Mm-hmm.
right? We always carry personnel, and that's the most expensive piece of equipment that we have is a person, a human being, and we have them in our care. We have them sign our manifest, so
Mm-hmm.
we understand that they're our responsibility now, and that in itself, it's like driving a car by yourself, right? You'll weave in and out of traffic by yourself all day. Right. I hope you don't, but if you do, it's because you're by yourself. But you'll never do that with anybody in your car because they're in your care, right? It's like when you're out there in the vehicles, you take care of them.
I drove up the I-5 this morning, so I'm well aware of all the in and outs that go on out here. But no, that's a great analogy, and it's a great segue because one of the things I want to talk about is the Marines. So you're the expert on the vehicle, but your passengers, that young infantry Marine that hops in the back and is get ready to go. Tell me about your interaction with them, how much training and stuff you've done with some of those Marines, and what are their perceptions when they go from the AAV to the ACV?
The first thing they say is it's a lot quieter, right? So they love that, and they love the comfortable ride, right? Because you have individual seats. So the Marines, whenever they get in there, they're more comfy. They can have conversations, kind of how we are now, because how quiet it is. And with the AAV too, it was like an open system, right, between engine and personnel's.
Right.
So all those fumes and exhausts, right? You left the ramp smelling like a weld shop.
Right.
So the infantry, I think, they like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us about some of the things you did. I know you've been involved in some of the tests and evaluation, but give us an example of how you work with a platoon or a company coming here to do some training on the vehicle. What are some of the things that they go through?
So we adjust tomorrow. Our Bravo 1st platoon, the platoon I'll be joining, they will take their test tomorrow. All right. So what it looks like is they show up. We coordinate with their platoon staff to get all their prerequisites, like their AAV licenses, driver's license, swim qual, the annual stuff that is required in order to operate an amphibious combat vehicle. So we gather all that, we get personnel rosters, and then from there, we kickstart our classes. We start with our intercom system, and then we go into familiarization. Okay. And then we go to vehicle operations, and then land driving, towing procedures, and all the way from gunnery, and then we end with water.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
all the ground stuff first, and then ultimately the splash is the last thing.
It's in 4 phases. You got intercom, land, water, and then gunnery.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's for the crews who are actually going to be operating the vehicle. How much time have you spent with the infantry that's going to be aboard those vehicles? How much time have you interacted with some of those Marines? What are some of the things you do with them here?
So my time with the infantry, like we don't work too directly with the infantry here at the net or AVTP for that matter. Okay. The most I've done with the infantry is just do like on and off drills, like rehearsals, getting them used to the vehicle so they can go conduct training with a unit that already has the ACVs that we have taught prior.
So you've done things like tests, how long it takes to get in, how long it takes to egress, get out, all their gear, where the gear gets placed and all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
And load plans and load ammo, stuff like that.
Gotcha. So, and that was the thing we didn't talk about. So you are also received a lot of training on the ammo and how to handle the ammo aboard this vehicle part of the gunnery portion of it, I assume.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. What's the feedback from your fellow net Marines that are here working with you on the differences between the two vehicles? What's the overall concept? Or
it's time for a change, right? And that is I would say, general consensus here at the Net New Equipment Training Team, all the way from a 20-year Master Sergeant all the way down to, I think we got a 2-year Corporal, Lance Corporal. So, and we're all general across the board it's time for a change, right? A 50-year-old vehicle, right?
So you might have to modify that, yes.
Oh, it still remains the same. It still remains the same, U8 tracks. So it's still a tractor, tracked vehicle.
Gotcha.
Right? So that still remains the same, We got to keep our motto.
So you'll maintain the model, but you're okay with going to wheels.
I'm okay with it. Yeah. It took me a little bit, but after doing, all the stuff I've seen as far as the battle damage assessment reports and reading and talking to this guy or that girl and etc. And just doing my own observations. Okay. Right, tracks they're great to have. You get pivot action.
Right.
But there's nothing these ACVs can't do that the ACV could. I mean, the AAV could. Right. So what we lost with the AAV, we gained exponentially with the ACV.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So, and then there's only if you weigh out the pros and cons, there's not many there. The disparity, between the employment of it and the actions upon arrival and stuff like that.
So let me transition a little bit. So we talked about operating the vehicle and whatnot. How about maintenance? Do you get involved in the maintenance of the vehicle itself?
I do, personally, because that's who I am as a Marine. Right. If my vehicle's getting worked on, I take care of it, and I'm with the mechanics there that's working on it. Like, hey, what are you doing? Right. What's that? What tool are you using? Right. Where do I get it? Why don't I have it? Like, what are you doing right now that I can do without you here if I have to? Because we don't get as many mechanics as operators. We get one per section, if that, and we have 3-4 sections. Right. So it's all just operator maintenance, what you can do, what you can't do. There's a gray area, I would like to say, as a sergeant of Marines, but having the mechanics there it's awesome.
So from your perspective, maintenance-wise, is this an easier system? Is it easier to adapt to, or is it just different?
I'm not going to say it's an easy system to operate, work on, maintain. I will say, however, it is easy to troubleshoot.
Gotcha.
Yes, it is easy to find the problem, right? I'm not going to say it's easy to fix because, it's 9-ton vehicle. Not 9 tons, 35 tons. So
35, yeah. I think I said 70 earlier, but that's a tank. So
70,000 pounds.
Yeah, 70,000 pounds. Gotcha.
Yeah, so, as far as working on the vehicle, it's easy to find where the problem is. Where there's smoke, there's fire. You may find like a loose cannon plug, but that loose cannon plug could be connected to something that's literal broken.
So, but nowadays, a lot of these vehicles will let you know, hey, we used to call it the idiot light. So these vehicles, these CAN bus and whatnot, they kind of give you a heads up, hey, something's coming. So do you find that helpful, useful, this particular vehicle?
This vehicle in particular it does a lot of work for you.
Okay.
It'll let you know when something's not right.
Right.
We have a driver's display panel. Okay. So there'll be a red light. Hey, warning.
Right.
This isn't working right, So that'll let us know where to look.
Forgot to put the oil in it, yeah.
Like, hey, I'm hot, So, that helps tremendously.
What's a typical day like for you here?
So, a typical day for me here at the New Equipment Training Team, it starts with come in, 05:30, we do PT, right? We run. Me doing the martial arts instructor, so I PT the Marines pretty good, and we fight a lot, and we run a lot more.
Fight with a purpose, not fight with each other.
Fight with a purpose, in order to better hone our skills.
Maintain your skills,
yes, sir. And then after PT, go wash up, and then come back for 7:30 accountability, and then we kickstart our day. Our day usually consists of coming to the ramp, getting on the vehicles, talking to the students if we have a class on deck, which 9 times out of 10 we usually do. So just getting with the students and then getting our plan of attack for the day and then hitting it head on. And then we break when we're done.
What do you like most about your job here?
The Marines.
Okay.
There's no ifs, ands, buts that one. That's one of the biggest
The brotherhood
reasons.
or the sisterhood of...
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always tell Marines, it's like your first 4 years is going to be for you. That's where you get your benefits. That's where you get your, your GI Bill, your disability, whatever you want whenever you get out.
Right.
Every year after that, once you re-enlist again or extend, that's for everyone else, right? That's for the Corps. Right? It's what are you doing for the Marine Corps or for the Marines while you're still in. And that's what I take very personally, and that's what I love about my job is the Marines and getting them to know my name and what have I done for them.
That's I couldn't have said it better. That's because as a former Lance Corporal at one point in time, you're just thinking about Libo, what's next, so on and so forth. But it's a great analogy because once you start that second enlistment, you're working on a legacy.
Yes.
And again, we all, in some small shape, way, or form, if we end up doing 20 plus years in this outfit, you leave a little bit of you behind it. Mm-hmm. And then obviously you take some of the Marine Corps with you. So
yes.
So have you crossed over that first enlistment?
I have.
So you're in it, huh?
I am in it.
All right.
We'll see how long it goes, 4 years at a time.
So what's next for Sergeant White?
I check back into the Fleet Marine Force March 1st. I check into Bravo 1st.
Okay.
At the 3rd Tracks over here across the boat basin. And I'm going to be going on the 31st MEU.
Okay.
And then after that is completed, I have recruiting orders for August of 23 for RS Kansas City.
Oh, okay. So going back home a little bit.
Yes, I got 2 daughters and a wife that I would love to bring them back home with my family.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
How old are your kids?
My oldest daughter will be 4 in March, and then my youngest was born in July. She's about 7 months old.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And enjoy it because they grow up, they want the keys to the car, they want more money, so on and so forth.
Yes.
Listen, Sergeant White, I just want to tell you, this has been a great insight, and I think you provide our listeners with a better understanding at what it means to actually get your hands on a new piece of gear. It's shiny, and that's wonderful and all that, but it's all the training, understanding, and the hard work that goes into learning that piece of gear. What do you think, what do you want your Marines to take away when they leave your courses when you're done?
I want them to understand that, yes, it's a new vehicle. Yes, it's shiny, has buttons, switches, and gadgets in it. But the vehicle is only going to be employed by the Marine. It's only being taken care of by the Marine. So a new vehicle becomes a very old vehicle very quick if no one takes care of it. Right? You can go buy a brand new car today, drive it off the lot. You never change the oil. You never replace your tires, tire alignment, you name it. That vehicle depreciates in value because you didn't take care of it. So it remains the same across the way.
Well, listen, I appreciate your insight. I appreciate your candid. I want to wish you all the best for a future career. But we're not done. We have a part in this show we like to call the lightning round.
Uh-oh.
So I got a few more tough questions I'm going to ask you.
All right.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's your favorite duty station?
Say the net team.
So aboard Camp Pendleton.
Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
I would love to go to Lejeune though.
Lejeune, really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd have to say Camp Pendleton was one of my top, but you got time. You got time to experience a few others.
Yep.
What's a TV show, book, movie, or podcast you'd recommend? And you don't have to recommend this podcast. I won't be insulted, but...
a book I'd recommend
okay.
is called Marines in the Garden of Eden.
Oh, okay.
That book is about the Battle of Nasiriyah.
Okay.
And everything that was endured by the Marines and the regimental combat teams that was sent out there. They got the call during their Christmas libo.
Mm-hmm. That's a great and powerful read.
It is.
Thanks for sharing that with us. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, if you weren't a Marine, what would you be doing?
If I was a Marine, I'd probably be a supervisor at Home Depot,
Yeah.
like I was before I left.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with Home Depot
There's-
or Lowe's for that matter.
There's
So,
not.
and there's future employment opportunity when we get out. So, so this is the tough one. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I wish I could be a sponge. I wish I could pick up a book and read it in 2 minutes and put it down and know every single word that was in that book.
Wow, that's outstanding. I haven't heard that analogy before. That
I want to be smart. I don't need strength, right? Strength is in the mind. I wish I could just be the smartest one in the room, in every room, but I can't. I got to work on that.
Well, let me tell you, believe it or not, that's pretty powerful. And you can't say that. A lot of people don't understand what you just said. There's power, but you're probably smarter than you think you are, just because you continue to seek that knowledge, seek that strength. So, listen, Sergeant White, it's been a great conversation. I've learned a lot. I appreciate you taking the time. I want to wish you continued success, and I want to personally thank you as somebody who's been involved in a little history about the ACV and whatnot. I want to thank you for what you're doing for the Corps and for the Marines out here. Best of luck to you. Continued success. Thank you.
I thank you for having me on this show.
Pleasure. Well, this concludes another episode of Equipping the Corps. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. If so, please take a couple minutes, leave us a review, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Till next time, Manny Pacheco signing off.